material is in, and almost have like have it itemized by job number or something else to indicate a specific job. And then the program would be as it has been. So when we talked this morning, my PM and me, we were saying instead of it being warehouse right here, maybe a job. When you come in and you can filter in, these are all actually like different jobs. If there was a way that we could have maybe another, I don't know, main component that would say Schaumburg East, because that's an actual real warehouse. Schaumburg West, which is where I'm at right now, and that's a real physical warehouse. We've got one in St. Louis. We have one in Michigan somewhere.
Can't we just add another search criteria, which would be the job number, and then add a column for job number, maybe?
On the item master list, not easily, because that's all pulled out of a aggregate function. You pass in the warehouses someone wants to view, and it passes back out the the correct data. So we have to change the screen quite a bit.
How did we do Brisk? Do you remember how we set Brisk up?
What the heck was Brisk?
Remember Jill was doing all the data entry for Brisk, and they were doing projects. They were actually shipping to sites and doing buildings, weren't they?
It was by floor.
Yeah. Do you remember how we...
We'd have to go back and look. Yeah, you're right. We did. Selena, this was the project was a really big building in New York. It was it was built in 1960. It was, I believe it was 34 or 37 floors, and it was literally a city block. And it was basically retrofitted with apartments, but it was built with this brick that was basically crumbling, and they had to reside the building basically, and it was like I don't know how many, how many hundreds of millions of dollars it was. It took them like 2 years just to scaffold the building.
Wow.
And then I can send you pictures. It's pretty neat. They ended up doing this interlocking German tile, and all the tiles were. It was like Legos and paint by numbers. Every tile had a specific spot that it was supposed to go on the building, basically.
Oh my God.
and the tiles came from Germany, and it was like an aluminum framework that they clipped into that somehow got fastened to the side of the building, and that came from China or Korea or somewhere. And the stuff all came in from offshore, obviously, and they stored it right outside the Holland Tunnel in a warehouse. And then they went from the top down, I believe, and they divided the building up into quarters, I think. So it was like 34 East, 34 North, 34 South, and 34 West. Might have been even more than that, but I think it was 4 quarters. And they literally delivered the grid work and the tiles by section.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that really applies or not, but that's what it was. Ben, the other Ben must have something in the back of his mind that's not.
Oh, no. I was just wondering how we set them up, because, they were working on, it sounded similar.
I forget if they had, I forget how we did it, because you're right, they entered orders or something.
Yeah, I think it was orders. Why wouldn't you use orders or, orders to represent your projects?
Or work orders?
How much stock is assigned to an individual job?
Honestly, it really depends. So, like right now, really all of this Blue Island, Burnham, all those jobs are done. Which kind of goes into if we can delete or discontinue a warehouse because we don't need them anymore. But the main ones.
If we clicked on them, we'd see, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So
That's okay.
there's little things that you have to clean up, but the job is done. We haven't done anything on, what is this, Blue Island for like 5 months, if not longer.
So if
You
you
know, and I
click
think
on
a
the
lot of this,
ins.com, will that show you, Zach, basically?
I think why a lot of these jobs have stock still available is because during that time that we were shut down, for the whole PO and payment issue and them trying to figure out what they wanted to do. I never had the chance, time-wise, and it's no exaggeration, to actually go in and rectify everything. So there's a few jobs that still show stock, but they're done. And that's how I was doing my projects. Now that I am purchasing for other project managers, they are slightly different. And what I had originally was thinking was this one right here. This is basically how our jobs are. This is just the project manager's initials. And then this was to show what office the material was going to. If it was actually coming here, because there are some that we order for other offices that come here first so we can inspect them, then it wouldn't have that. And then we just ship it out to the tech or whoever, because we don't have an actual brick and mortar over there. It actually gets shipped out to individual techs. But my main PM, he's like, no, we want to see what's in this building, which is the office down the street. The office down the street consists of DSS, inventory room, Joe Palermo, on call, all of the trucks, and that's pretty much it. Go ahead.
Penny, what about what we did for Yates? Because those are jobs, right? And they send stuff out, they get stuff back.
Yeah, but I think, Zach was suggesting that these should actually be locations then within that warehouse, and that seems more like it to me.
Yeah, but
well,
essentially you're tracking the inventory for a certain period of time. You're not just sending the stock there, but you'll actually be managing that inventory for a period of a couple months, correct?
right, except for instance, especially DSS inventory in the inventory room, these are actual like lockups that we keep down the street at the main office that have legit shelf numbers where, stuff comes in and out. Those aren't necessarily slated for any particular job. It's kind of, if it's needed, then we'll do a material transfer internally and it comes out of stock. A lot of these items, which we're also trying to clean up, has the max and mins on it, things like that. So I don't know how it would work. I mean, I know you guys would have an answer for it, but if we made each job as a location, for instance, again, DSS inventory, we actually have physical shelf locations within that particular,
well, if
warehouse.
DSS is a primary warehouse, then we would leave that as is. But, potentially we could create a, job warehouse where, within that warehouse, each location would be a different job number or a different job location. And, you could transfer stock over there. You could, manage that as its own warehouse, separate from the primary warehouse.
Well, would that work though? Because, okay, this lockup and inventory room is completely different. As of right now, for all the jobs that come in down the street, for me here, I stick stuff on a shelf, and a lot of the stuff I do off of memory. So it's just all the Burnham and Blue Islands, that's where I'm at, and I have to kind of, pardon me, but half-ass it because I don't have time to pay attention to it like I need to, just because they've got me going crazy. But down the street, if we have a job, say William Blair, and this one has multiple floors that we're ordering for, and we are ordering them as like floors 43, 44. That's one order. Floors 45, 46 is one order. When they actually come into the warehouse down the street, there are shelves back there, SEC 17 back, SEC 17 front, that that material that was ordered for those jobs, that's where it actually sits. So they would actually have locations in and of themselves besides just the job numbers being a location. Like we need to be able to track where that material physically is within that job in the system. You know what I mean?
So you need to track the jobs you're ordering it for.
Like we still need a location within each of those locations.
Well, so essentially you need to track which job it was ordered for, and then you need to track where it currently is as well.
Right, in the physical warehouse, yes. So for all intents and purposes, for the system, we're using the term warehouse as individual jobs. And within those individual jobs for the locations are actually shelf locations in the physical overall warehouse. So what we're looking to try to do, if it's possible, is have an actual warehouse designation. So, for instance, our main office is at One Commerce. So that would be a physical warehouse. Right now, I'm at 1090 National. So this would be another warehouse. Within 1090 National, you have jobs Burnham, Blue Island, Zion, Des Plaines, etc. And here in this warehouse, even though I'm holding material for multiple jobs, I have shelf locations that the material for that job is sitting in. So SEC 15, SEC 4. And I would know if I ordered, say, a power supply for Des Plaines. I could come in, I could click under 1090 because I know it's in 1090. I would click under Des Plaines because that's the actual project. And I could see that that particular power supply is on shelf SEC 3.
What if we use center codes for the jobs?
How does that work?
Well, center codes is another table that you could use that would specify a job number. And then you could attach it to the inventory items.
Okay.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I mean, without knowing how it works.
I don't think that'll
I'm
work.
open.
Because you have one item.
I don't think it would work because they have the same part numbers going to different locations.
Right, and that's the biggest thing too. A lot of the different jobs.
You'd have to change it on the parts active record. There's got to be something unique on the There's got to be something unique on the inventory record that we could use, don't you think, though?
I mean, I still think we could do it with locations. Just have a shelf location in the warehouse, and then have another location that's Blue Island on site or something like that to denote that it's different from the shelf. I think there's a way to do it in our standard system because the main problem now is within the standard system we don't allow for deletion of warehouses. So that's kind of the problem. We either have to program it to allow them to delete warehouses, or we can change them over to locations where they can, we already have that capability in place.
Yeah, but if I'm following Selena, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she needs to know that Blue Island is on shelf A1 in her physical warehouse. So
right. So I need to know that say the power supply for Blue Island is on shelf, for instance, A1, but it's in physical warehouse 1090 National, as opposed to 2.5 miles down the road at the physical warehouse in our main office. And I think the tricky part also is that multiple physical locations can use the exact same part. So I can use, power supply ABC for Blue Island here at 1090. They can have one down at One Commerce for truck, Joe Blow, and Michigan, our office in Michigan, can also use that same part number. So I think that's what the biggest hang up, and I was trying to understand really what the project manager wanted. I think it's kind of maybe going overboard and making it more confusing.
It sounds to me more like serial numbers and lot numbers. Serial 1 you could use for, the project, and serial 2 you could use for the sublocation. Or, and then you have to have uniqueness.
The other option might be, I don't think that they're actually using suppliers. I'm looking around in the database now. We could set each job site as a different supplier, and then if you order the stock, or you receive the stock into the system with that supplier, then you can easily search on the item master screen, by, which supplier. So if that's Blue Island is the place it's intended for, or, whatever, I think that might be an option.
Yeah, but that sounds like I don't know, maybe I'm...
Well, the thing is, like Benson said, I mean, we need some sort of uniqueness to filter on here, because currently, there is...
Yeah, why couldn't you use the 2 serial number fields?
Well, we could use it, but it would need to be, either some sort of drop-down list, and we'd have to then customize the item master list to have a serial number, some sort of extra filtering for that.
Right, because he wants to be
able
able
to... go to the locate move screen, yeah.
I mean, he wants to be able to view what's in a particular warehouse, physical warehouse, not even by jobs, but pull up, say, 1090 and see all the material that's here at 1090. Basically, the same thing as our regular home screen. But you could come in here and select, 1090, One Commerce, St. Louis, and see what all is in there, and then have a sub location or whatever that is designated by the job number. And that you could also filter by that. So you could break it down, 1090, then displays, and see all the material for displays.
I mean,
because very rarely...
You could add 2 more fields to the item IDs, job and location, but they'd have to be, pull-down lists. And I mean, it's by item, right? I mean, it's by individual items, so they'd have to be... It's not like you can do because you can use the same item on multiple jobs. You'd have to have it stored on each item.
Well, we have shown inventory in the item master screen before, like Donan. I mean, basically their item master screen is really their inventory. So.
Well, isn't that what it always is? You lost me on that.
No, it's the parts. It's the top level, and then you drill in the inventory using the in-stock columns. But with Donan, everything was there. It's put right on the item master, so it's really it's looking at their entire inventory list without having to drill into it.
Yeah, it would be a lot of inventory, because I imagine that a lot of these parts are pretty common all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems to me like you need 2 fields on the item master list, for job and location.
Yeah, but then again, how are you going to share the same item ID between different jobs and different locations?
Well, I think Ben's using the wrong terminology. I think when the stock is received into the system, we need to have an extra field there to reference the job number that it's being brought in for.
Right.
So that way we know.
And the location it's being put. Yeah.
Well, all we need to know is the job. If it's received for a specific job, then you can easily we can add an extra field for you to be able to search by that job or filter by that job. Then.
Yeah, true.
Because I mean, one other thing that they wanted to go ahead.
Well, it goes back to we could use serial and lot numbers. We got serial and serial too.
Okay. I mean, one other thing that they wanted to try to do is, say we're in a pinch and we don't have a certain item here. We want to be able to see, for example, what St. Louis has. And if they have one, be able to call them up and say, hey, we need this, Because it's almost like we need the system as it is right now, let's just say, is for our Chicago office and all of our Chicago operations. And we would almost have like a whole nother separate system identical, but for our St. Louis. And a whole nother separate system identical for Michigan, et cetera, et cetera. But we want to merge them all so we can access everything from one program. Like if this was associated with us, and then we started a whole brand new setup for St. Louis and et cetera, that's really what we need to do, but we need to also integrate them all into one.
Yeah, I think that's very doable, right?
Because it's a nice thing too. Go ahead.
Well, we can assign users to warehouses, so if somebody's in St. Louis, they'll only see the jobs in St. Louis.
Well, right, but again, if they need something they can't get it, it's a long lead time, or they're short, they want to be able to see what we have to see if, hey, do you need this right now? Can I get it from you? And when mine comes in, I'll replace it.
Yeah,
like we need to be able to
see. The stock system does that now, because you can assign extra warehouses to users too.
Well, I mean, if you're in and you can see all warehouses here, when you drill into the inventory, you're going to see all warehouses for this item.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just enabling those fields on the locate and move screen so you can see what job they're assigned to and what location they're in.
And that said, I mean, we can also allow you to reassign them to different jobs. So if you click on the in-stock column, Selena.
Okay.
So on this screen, this shows you, all the different warehouses and all the different stock you have in those different warehouses. So essentially what we can do is if you actually click, so you can see the serial lot field. Ideally we're thinking we can use that to assign, different stock to different jobs. But as well, if you click on the item ID, the blue link to the far left, we can also let you then reassign it to a different job. From there, you can actually, change the serial number, change, where it's going to. So we can put a serial number field here for you to be able to redirect it to a different job, or if you need to pull it and send it over to, Minneapolis or I forget what you were saying, but if you need to send that over to St. Louis or one of your other offices, you could then remove it from that job and do a move stock transaction over to that other warehouse.
I hate to say it, but we should probably add another field, because eventually she'll probably end up wanting to actually use serial numbers. Some real expensive piece of.
Well, what about the reference field? Do you use purchase orders in the system?
We don't. We have talked about using it. I know that we've discussed it, between all of us. Honestly, I haven't had time. It's like as soon as I kind of get to a spot where I'm like, all right, I have this down. Now I can show you how to use it. Now let's kind of like really see what this thing can do. They just dump stuff on me, and I haven't had a chance. I think the last time that we had talked about the max min email that comes every day, and if we've actually ordered it, how to get it to not show up every day even though it's on order, and that's by using the purchase orders. Since then, I think that was back in December, November, October, I have not had a free moment to actually really play around with it, which I want to. I just
probably don't want to use that field.
But like, say for example, so this screen right here, how it's got DSS inventory and truck. So let's just say that it's the exact same thing as what you see, except DSS inventory is in Chicago, Hans is in St. Louis, Julie is in Chicago, Orlando is in Michigan, things like that. How would we be able to pull this up and see the exact same info, the same part number, what the description is, who has how many of what, but to see that DSS is in Chicago and Hans is in, you know what I mean? Because even with DSS, this location of F5, that's the shelf number that particular part number is sitting on down the street.
Essentially, you want a third level of location tracking. So right now we have warehouses and then locations, and we have 2 levels. But it sounds like really what you want here might be a 3-level, where you can say, okay, this is our Chicago area. Then we have the DSS warehouse, and then we have the locations underneath them.
Well,
yeah.
Wait a sec. I mean, doesn't the warehouse already have a city and state field in it? Couldn't we just show the city?
Yeah, it also has the warehouse has a company record too.
Right.
So you could use the company field, as Chicago DSS inventory.
Right.
And then like Orlando, you could put it there, and then we could show it.
Right.
Yeah, that might be the option right there to use.
Yeah. Instead of Convergent Technologies, we change that to the company name. We change it to location. So that would be Chicago.
Okay, so if I can't rename
it. Or you can just use the city and state that are already here.
Yeah, we could do that
Right. So
too.
so those are already in there. Where would I see that at then?
But we just have
So
to
that's what we'd
display
have to
them, Selena.
customize to display it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right.
Would we be able to filter by that? Say Schaumburg.
That would be
And,
part of the customization, is making it so you could
okay.
filter in that as well.
Okay. I mean, and really the 3-level, that's actually pretty accurate. It really, really is. However, you guys can make that happen, whether it's by enabling the city and state and being able to filter as such. Because I've already told my boss that the way that this is right here for this particular warehouse, and I don't remember saving this. This was an accident, and I can't even get it out of there now. But this is how I'm going to start building the jobs from now on. Because you know what? If you're a project manager, you should know what your job numbers are. So, but then that way, because they want to be able to filter by what's in the physical warehouse, if we're doing valuation for inventory, which we do every quarter. But then if a certain project manager, for example, this guy's name is Brian, those are his initials, he can actually filter by BS and pull up all of his jobs and see amongst all of his jobs that are being stored in the warehouse, what's in, what's not, what he can borrow from if he needs to, and just whatever pertains to him. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of filtering going on. But, yeah, I mean, I told my boss I would just rather do it like this, but he wasn't having any of it. I figured it would save us all a bunch of headaches, but I was unsuccessful in that endeavor.
Okay, so I think a couple of the features we'll have to add here would be, like we just talked about, filtering by the company name to enable you to have, essentially 3 levels of, warehouse and location tracking there. And then the other change would be, like you've said, you have this list cluttered up at the moment. The other change would be to allow you to discontinue old warehouses that you're not using anymore, or that are closed out. That would be the second customization there. And there's going to be a few other things at different levels in order to enable it to add in that filtering on the different screens. Make those changes around the system.
Okay. Is there any way that? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying with the company name now. Looking at the screen the whole time, didn't even see any of it. So I'm sorry about that. Is there any way that we can see what the end product will be before committing to customizing, in case he wants it tweaked a little bit or something like that? Because he has already told me, he's like, this is what I want. Get at them, make sure they can do it. Whatever the customization is what it is. We're going to do it, but this is how I want it to be. Because I don't want you guys to go through and customize it, and then it's not what he wants. You know how we went on the practice site?
The next step might be to stage some data in here so we can show, okay, company A would be the Chicago area, company B would be the St. Louis area, and so on. So I think that would be the first step, to set up a little bit of a demo here. We can show that filtering, and then as well, it might be just necessary to get him on a call here so we can review it with him and make sure we're on the same page.
I agree, and he already said that he's more than willing to do that. So maybe we can do that once the demo is ready to view. Would that work, or would you want to do this prior to that?
I would want to probably just change some company names here so we can give an example of how this would work. And yeah, probably just do that and then do the meeting, because from there I think we can show, okay, you can filter by the company name, and then we can just, obviously tell them that we can show that on the different screens in order to let you filter by these different values.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I will email you some examples, because like One Commerce Warehouse, it's just enclosures, but that is actually the physical address of our office down the street. So we might have to change that up a bit. But Blue Island, Burnham, Secure, those are the ones here by me at 1090. BP Inventory and Caterpillar, those are in Peoria, Illinois, something like that. So I can send you a couple of them of where they physically are at, and then just plug them in and we can test it that way. That way it doesn't really screw anything up because they are actually where they're physically at.
Sounds good.
What about the job number? What are we going to use? What field are we going to use for the job number?
I think they're just going to continue using them as warehouses as they're doing here. It'll just be assigned to different zones.
Right, because initially when we first started, all these Blue Island and Burnhams, those were just for our ComEd jobs, and that's what I was doing. So because nobody else was involved in this, and no trucks, no nothing, it was just me, I just named them as the job name instead of the job number. Now there will be some that won't have a job number, like all the trucks. Those are, the trucks with the person's name. Those I can't do. But if there's a job number that can be applied, that's just what I'm going to name each of the warehouses. If you have a job number, it's going to be as such. If it's for a specific lockup, it's going to be as such.
Seems kludgy to me. But if it works,
I agree. It's not the ideal way, but I think it fits best in terms of how they're currently doing it, and how it's going to expand.
Right, and again, when we first started this, it was just supposed to track ComEd stuff, but they liked it, so they wanted to incorporate more and more. So I've had to change and figure out, okay, that probably wasn't the best way to do things. So, from here on out, now I got to do it like this. Now we got to do it like that. So it is a little muddled, to say the least, but just trying to improve it as each new thing comes on. I mean, we're going to have new users again, so we may have to get some more read-only licenses. I don't know. Things are moving super quick, except for the answers. Those are not.
Okay, well, I think the next step would just be to set up a quick demo of how this idea might work, and then get your director on the phone as well, and just schedule a meeting and go over it again, because once we talk to him as well, we might come up with a different idea on how to move forward.
Right.
As well. So it's just one of those things. I think we'll need to discuss it, go through it, and figure out what's going to fit best for you guys, and how we can do this best.
Okay, that sounds good. And then in the email from Zachary, from March 3rd, something about using the purchase orders and importing. Is there a way that, how would that work?
We do have a purchase order import utility, so you could import orders and such. Again, though, it's one of those things. I would have you use the purchase orders as is before you start running imports. That way you know how it works before you get involved into importing huge batches or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, the purchase order system, essentially you can select which warehouse it's being shipped to, which warehouse it's being billed out to, different information like that. You can track the costs, amounts. And that also all ties back into the reorder points and reorder levels as well. So, that would assist you as far as how that works.
But if they're bastardizing the warehouse to be the job number, Zach, or the job name, that doesn't work.
Well, no, you could purchase directly for that job, or you could purchase for that warehouse.
Maybe we should just try to get this down and then maybe integrate that at a later time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe think more into this that needs to be done.
Well, actually, I think Ben might be right, because if you're trying to order for a job, your reorder levels aren't going to show up correctly if you're ordering for a job XYZ, but you're tracking the stock in a different warehouse. I'm not entirely sure how that would work.
Well, then let's just not even think about that right now, because that's like a back burner thing. This whole with integrating the locations and physical warehouses, that's more of a pressing matter as of right now. So let's just not do anything with the purchase orders for now.
Well, we should just keep in mind that, you do want to use the purchase orders, so we don't want to bastardize it so that, it saves the ability to use the other stuff.
Right. I mean, if we could, it would be great. Right. And I mean, we really want to try to avoid doing double data entry, since we have to do that in Spectrum anyways. But again, let's just revisit the whole purchasing module later.
Okay. You guys have enough to go on? Maybe we lost Ben.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm here. Just holding my head.
It's been a lot. I'm sorry.
All right. Let us talk about it, Selena, and we'll come back to you. I don't think it's
let me know.
the path we choose.
Okay, and then I'll get these over to you so you guys can plug them in and use it for an example. And then I'll let him know that, we want to do a sit down and kind of go over everything to make sure it is what is wanted before committing.
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
I got to go back and do a couple of driveways.
Oh, sorry. I have to do mine when I get home.
I guess. Okay. I recorded this so we can replay it.
Okay, perfect.